Look, all right. We got a little epilogue here, okay?
Hmm.
I figure there's actually no point in explaining it. It's kind of, why don't we?
Don't need the
why don't
cover
we
for
just get
this,
right
is
into this little
from what
epilogue?
I.
You don't. You need
thing.
to, in fact, get rid of it so that people can see the text on screen.
Okay, I'm excited. Is Super Smash Bros?
Sure is.
Remember, this was a failure. This was not considered good enough. This was not good enough for them to make one sequel. Bear that in mind. Now, what is inflation? Inflation doesn't matter. It's not a real metric. Who cares about inflation?
It's just a magic economy number
inflation.
that the mathematicians
it's just this sort
make
of
up.
abstract concept. What do you? Money has different value at different times. Wow, shit, huh? What? Nah, we don't really care about that.
It's absurd. Like, if you adjust for inflation, the first Superman movie did so much better. That's insane. Why would anybody do that?
Nah, come on. I'm like, what do you want me to say? This is just truth. This is just reality. Batman v Superman didn't do well enough.
I think one of the interesting things, too, is that this movie kind of came out alongside Fantastic Four somewhat, and that movie made less. However, that movie made less in an already struggling, pittering out kind of franchise, to the point where we see what they're doing with Doomsday. So we would probably be talking about Fantastic Four's failure a bit more. However, I think Superman 2025's has kind of overshadowed it a bit with talk about how...
Because it's like people are talking about how, Superman is some tremendous success while Fantastic Four failed and it made $100 million more. Not that much more.
Yeah,
relatively.
They were both failures, guys.
Or at I think here's the thing. At the very least, you have to admit it's not a great result. Like, whether you want to argue about if it was a failure, like it lost money, that's one conversation. But the idea of like, well, we just broke even, is like, what? So,
do you think that if given a time machine, DC, if they knew ahead of time this movie will make $15 million,
that they would have done it?
That they would have would they have completely redone the strategy if they knew? Or do you think they'd be like, you know what, that's pretty good, we'll stick with that. That sounds like a good safe number. We'll take the $100 million. Yeah, like obviously they would re-roll. Obviously they would rethink their strategy, or they'd choose something else. They'd completely rethink what their marketing would be, or the structure of the movie, or they wouldn't do it at all. They obviously hope for a different result. Obviously.
First thing to do is adjust the budget for inflation, so I don't feel like doing all the calculations on this, but like, I don't know, man, isn't it a little bit, like, why is it that, like, movies suddenly stopped costing more than $200 million, like, 20 years ago? I don't know, like...
Well, and to anyone saying
how frugal
make sure
Hollywood is.
If we're doing all the numbers, you got to grab the ticket sales as well, where Man of Steel is going to slaughter Superman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And also, at the end of the day, it's just, this is the reality. Adjusted for the real amount of money that it cost back then versus now, Man of Steel made like $300 million more money, relatively. That's just the reality, regardless of how much it costs. But, of course, budget does matter, because $200 million to make $600 million, I don't know, compared to something like Saw 1 that cost $1 million and made $100 million, man, that fucking return on investment, huh? That matters to film studios. I don't know why we're pretending that it doesn't. It clearly does if you look at the choices that film studios make with the franchises that they pursue and the types of films that they make.
Well, you also, think just as a reminder, wanting to chase the Joker money more and lean a lot further into that.
Just a reminder, no inflation needed for Man of Steel. No,
Man of Steel beat it nominally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It just outright made
That's a big oof.
Explain it to me, please. Explain to me why this makes sense.
The only thing that I could
please.
come up with is that it was
Go
attached to the MCU, and the MCU was strong at that
2023?
time.
In 2023, though, yeah.
Well,
23.
I guess it was specifically writing off the success of Guardians 1 and 2.
And the success of James Gunn at that time, I think. It's just kind of one of the really interesting things about it is that they seem to have been, as a studio, so keen to get away from like the stink of the Snyder era, which made more money, that they went for the guy who was a Marvel employee. That's what James Gunn was. He was quite a good one for a while, and then it sort of, he built up his reputation as a Marvel employee, and they hired the Marvel guy. The Marvel guy made a Marvel quality Superman film, and it has performed like an average current Marvel movie. They've Marvelified their thing from the beginning, way after everybody could have told them that this was the wrong thing to do. They wanted so much to differentiate themselves from Snyder that they went for probably the most irritating franchise by number of films at this point that there is. I don't see how the Gunn hiring decision is going to be looked back on as anything other than severely outdated.
And then add into that, I mean, the fact that we have Batman 2, the Batman 2 was confirmed. Like, I think that is not a meaningless thing either.
No, neither is it going to streaming faster than even the people who like was celebrating the box office. Like, whoa, slow down! Don't put it on streaming yet. It's like it's gotta get on there, ready for Peacemaker. Which is like, what?
Chat, you're right. It's Guardians of the Galaxy 3 Volume 3 made 845 million chickens.
Because you missed the dollar sign.
Yeah, that bothers me. That's annoying. Anyway, we'll get off screen here. Not adjusted for inflation. This is just nominally here, okay? Just bear that in mind. If you adjust for inflation, it gets worse.
Okay, I'll be curious. Wow, back to 2002.
Venom.
Yep. Quite literally every single Avengers Marvel movie released after 2012. What? Yeah, Hancock. The Will Smith Hancock, that made more money than Superman. It did. Jeez, it made more money. And this isn't adjusted for inflation, because once you do that, you get more X-Men films. You get, obviously, the older Superman films. You get the older Batman films. Like, what do you want me to say to this, guys? Like, I don't... Like, oh, yeah, tremendous success right here. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Is it? I'm not convinced, personally. But yes, Hancock made more money. And of course, The Incredibles did as well, back in 2004. But, you know. And literally every single Marvel movie, I think every single Marvel movie released between 2012 and 2023, except for, like, fucking Ant-Man 1, made more money than this film did. Not adjusted for inflation, because, again, you adjust for inflation, Iron Man beats it out. I think Thor might even win. Thor 1, first Thor. These are just the numbers, guys. What do you know? So, why are we pretending this didn't happen this year? This is Warner Brothers. Cost less money, made more money.
Way
well, of course,
less
Minecraft is more successful than Superman. Why, of course? Why have we all decided, of course, that would be the case?
Why it is,
Minecraft is incredibly popular. It is.
It's huge. Superman.
Like, Superman is one of the most recognized characters in fiction.
Well, and he pulled it off in 78, so...
Yep. Also, by the way, I find this funny, given the next film that follows it up. Why didn't we all talk about this? Final Destination Bloodlines cost half as much money and made about as much money as Sinners. I didn't see a billion tweets talking about how much of a success it was. I don't get it, man. Like, the conversations that people have on the internet about movies do not reflect the reality of how successful these films actually are. I just find it crazy.
Budgets are these
nebulous things.
esoteric.
Yeah, they don't matter.
If anything, they're kind of figurative when you get down to it.
Now, to be fair, you could look at this one and go, well, hang on, that looks pretty similar. And I think that's a fair point. I don't think F1 actually did particularly well. But when you bear in mind, I feel like I've seen people say stuff like, oh, well, Superman's like a lost leader or something along those lines. Like, you know, you got to spend money to make money.
Superman is a lost leader is a funny thing to say.
Here's the thing. You can make the argument that F1 can be a loss leader. It's a commercial for the sport. And if you even get a very small number of those people paying hundreds or potentially hundreds, or even I think some of the Grand Prix cost like $1,000 if you want to go the whole weekend. If you get even a small number of those people to pay for that, I mean, you know, this is a good outcome. It was like made in collaboration with the FIA. Like it's an advertisement. So there's something to be said for this being a more acceptable outcome. But
like it's a big commercial in a sense, yeah.
It still made more money. So, you know, just a little bit more money, but it still made more money. So.
It'd be interesting to test and disprove anyway. We don't have to wait too long to see if Superman is the lost leader. Well, Supergirl comes out quite early next year. So that will be the immediate test of that claim.
Exactly. No, but Peacemaker's doing great. That's what I've heard. People keep saying Peacemaker's doing great. It's doing really well. Is it?
And everyone says F1 is, you know, decent to good. There's no controversy when it comes to F1. So
it's the kind of film where I'd be surprised if you didn't like it, unless you're a particularly big fan of Formula One. Maybe you wouldn't like it because of that, because of, you know, any of the shenanigans of movies. But you know,
who knows?
I mean, that's a fair point to bring up as well.
How much? I was literally about to ask. Weapons.
Yeah, $38 million made $265 million. A much greater success story than Superman. But to be fair, people have kind of made that point.
It was very successful.
Now here's the one that's like, so far, we're not even done with this at the box office, and it's made $436 million against a $55 million budget. So what you can't deny is that basically every single one of these films was definitely more successful than Superman, right?
By easily.
So I'm sure that there was a proportionate amount of glazing for how much these films made money compared to Superman, right? But I didn't see that myself. But, you know, whatever. That's okay. You know, if you don't care, I mean, I'm sure the
Superman was the risk, you know? Superman he's trying something new. It's revolutionary. It's iconic. It's a generational thing.
Weapons, which is actually an original, like a wholly original film, and managed to succeed anyway. How about everybody else this year? What's the year looking like for the highest grossing films of the year? What's that looking like
to
right
receive
now? I mean,
the worst news of the year.
Yeah. What's that?
This is where the worst news of the year is going to come in.
Yes, unfortunately, this is not super fun because of the other films that have been successful this year, very successful. Not all of them. I haven't seen all of them, but you know. So far, this film has made more money so far. This Demon Slayer movie's made more money. And it's only been out for a couple of weeks. It's made more money than Superman.
Well,
that's people like Demon Slayer. I mean, I see ads for it everywhere. Guess. People are going to see it.
Yep. I don't like this, obviously, as an outcome, but it did make more money, and it didn't cost as much money to make as well.
Yep.
It didn't cost over $200 million, so... You know? Uh-oh. Oh, wait,
oh my goodness.
That's not looking quite so good.
Dinosaur movie. Wait, 250 million more.
Wasn't that the conclusion when we actually did the Superman breakdown, though? Was that like the expectations for the year was going to be like Superman was the best, Fantastic Four second, Jurassic World third of those big three, and it ended up being like Jurassic World is the least broken of those three movies. And
probably,
then Fantastic Four, and then Superman quite a long way down in third.
I think we were accurate on it making the most though of the three.
Everyone was.
But I think that was an easy guess.
Honestly, you know what's next after Minecraft, unfortunately. This happened. Grim, it's unfortunate.
$1 billion?
Like $1 billion. Thanks, guys. Thanks, lads. Good job.
Yeah, fuck all
again,
of you.
Remember, Lilo and Stitch cost half as much money to make as Superman. $100 million budget, $1 billion. So 10x return on investment.
Well, I'm just as well
3x.
Very happy to rank it as well beyond bad, and I wouldn't say this. There's no reason to say this about Superman. Lilo and Stitch is disgusting. Like it's just
it's rancid.
Hate it. But this is the reality of this year. But we got one more movie. Yeah.
The hell is it?
Okay.
The hell is that?
Yeah.
This is the one in
$2.2
China where if you don't
billion.
go, they
This is
shoot
the Chinese animated film. This is that one. It made $2.2 billion. It's the highest grossing film of the year.
Just like nobody's seen it really.
Credits.
Hard for them to be glad.
Yeah. Come on. I believe in you. Become big glad.
I was wondering if we'd see like a little peepo pop up at the end there.
I thought about it.
Yeah, I could say I was like, ooh, we're gonna get a little peepo, a little surprise.
Nah. Look, alright.
Yeah, well,
I'm just
I mean,
saying.
it's a mix of good and bad news, I suppose, is one way to look at it. Obviously, the bad news is pretty titanically bad, but
But I mean, it
Ugh.
doesn't even matter because I mean, it's just like this is where we are now. Like it's over. We had that month where everybody was in that weird collective psychosis, and now we're sort of here where it's like, oh yeah, Superman was kind of like not great, and it's and it didn't do that well. So yeah, but I mean, hey, what a great start for the DC universe. I mean, we got such great stuff coming up. Like, I wonder how many people will be talking about Peacemaker in 2 weeks.
I wonder what grand
people are only
revelations
talking about it-
will come at that point. That wonderful series. I sure
I
do
feel like
see
the only
everyone talking
reason-
about the characters. That's what everyone's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's not just a controversial thing of it that doesn't mean anything, and that'll fade quickly, like everything else fades. It's flash in a pan, if you can even call it a flash.
I saw those posts about there's like a Hitler mural, and the joke is that he walked past it several times and didn't notice it. And it's like, ha 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 ha, another classic banger.
Yeah. Because he's been going back in there and living in that universe for ages. And obviously they have to keep the reveal that it's a Nazi universe for basically the last episode. And so the excuse is, oh yeah, I never spotted that. Even though it's on the wall in the office of the girlfriend that he goes to visit. But it's funny, so it's fine.
That's funny. Oh yeah, funny. And then what's next? Lanterns, that's made by the guy who did Watchmen, the Watchmen TV show.
Oh no.
Oh Jesus Christ!
And
How
then,
does
and
it
then
happen?
Supergirl from the director of Cruella. He also made
Ugh.
I, Tonya, which I hear is better, but I mean, he made Cruella. He also made Dumb Money, which was like not bad, but he made Cruella. I have to keep reminding
It overshadows
you.
everything.
That's a film that he made, and then after that, it's Clayface, and then you get back to James Gunn again, and then nothing else because there's nothing else that's locked in. I'm pretty sure. Nothing.
What an exciting universe. So, Superman, starring David Corran Sweat, Rachel Brosnahan, and Nicholas Hoult, has ended its domestic theatrical run after playing on the big screen for 84 wonderful, soaring days. As everyone knows, so it's wrapped up completely. It's worth mentioning, Superman's worldwide box office gross ended at 615, 784, 465. I should have added more words in there, but you probably know what that means. Superman had a production budget of $225 million, plus a worldwide marketing budget of $125 million. Numbers that I think people are going to disagree on. I don't believe it is that low, but we'll run with it. It's fine. Variety reported after the film was released in theaters in July. Now, given that films generally split their ticket sales 50-50 with theater owners, this means that Superman's theatrical net equates to nearly $308 million. The amount, of course, does not reflect any residuals that are being paid out or other miscellaneous expenses associated with the film. So, could go up, could go down, could stay the same. It's hard to say for sure because there's lots of little things that happen. But even going with the $308 million before taking the other expenses into account, Superman's net then falls below the $350 million Warner Brothers spent on the production of the film and the marketing. Whether Superman will ultimately end up making or losing money, though, is yet to be determined, since Warner Brothers will earn money from premium video on demand, streaming video on demand, and other revenue streams, including dollars earned from licensed merchandise. No matter if Superman ends up in the red or the black, the new DCU is charging full steam ahead with its film and television slate, with James Gunn's HBO Max series Peacemaker serving as the follow-up to Superman to further build out the foundation of the DCU. DC Studios' next feature, Supergirl, is set to be released in theaters on June 26th, 2026. Now, this is a perspective that's been had, I'd say, over the past few months from many different people, and they've been called insane. and wrong for calculating this way. This is an article I've just read out, and it comes from Forbes.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Allegedly.
pretty interesting considering it seems like reality's setting in, and I obviously it was I think read out on FNT, and I think I was there for the Real BBC when it did, and it's just like, oh shit, finally, because this is another chapter. There's still another one to go where the numbers for the movie come in from having filmed in at least partially in Britain. When we get that transparency, it's going to be even more interesting. And of course, the consequences of what happens to the DCU going forward, what's going to happen with Supergirl's box office, what's going to happen in terms of just broad decisions where we understand what they mean in a wider context. We've had a few. For example, the cancellation of several different projects, or the moving Superman to streaming faster than one would expect for a super successful movie. And then, of course, just the continuous lowering of what it would have to cross to be successful, right? It's changed over the course of months and months. I know this conversation is dead for a lot of people. It's just frustrating because this is what we were saying like the entire time, and now it's in a definitive, like, trusted source for an article of how money works with movies. And of course, this is
Even
the only.
though you didn't even really need this.
No.
Like, all you
Did
need to
not be
do is just
necessary.
pattern recognition. What films are generally considered successful? How much did they make, and how much did they cost? As long as you remember that films don't, the box office number doesn't reflect the literal amount of money that the studio themselves are collecting on the film, and that there are additional costs associated with making the film, then you don't look at the things where it's like, oh, this movie made this much, budget was this, and you're like, oh, it must be successful because number's higher than that number. It's like, yeah, it needs to be a lot higher than that number to be considered successful. And then you just have to remember, man, $200 million, you could have made 4 Conjuring movies that made, like, what, $500 million this year? So you could have made $2 billion off of two, obviously it wouldn't work exactly like that, but like a $2 billion box office on 4 movies, like, damn, that seems a lot better than, $600 million on a $220 million budget, at least.
It was that your roundup at the end of the last one, the Retarded Avengers one. It's another way of doing it is compare its box office take to other recent DC movies, which were quite widely considered flops and failures. And if it didn't make as much money as those movies did, whilst costing a comparable amount, then by the same metric, this is a flop and a failure.
The idea that you just made Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania made money. It just made fuck all money.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make it a success. The idea, like, well, you made your money back. It's like, yeah, you want to make lots of money, though. That's why they're making these movies. They want to make hundreds of millions of dollars, not like a couple $1 million.
It's just kind of basic household economics. Like, if I only made as much money on my videos as it cost me in time and hiring editors and stuff to make those videos, I would be starving to death because I couldn't afford to do anything I actually need to do because the video didn't make money. It just broke even. Studios have, multiple projects that they can have another shot at, and apparently Warner thinks it's made enough money this year that it doesn't have to release other things. That came up on FNT a couple of weeks ago. Can't remember the context, but it's with Superman, it is your big ticket item. It is the kickoff event of your DCU. The next movies are Supergirl and Clayface. Clayface is a bit of an anomaly because it has an incredibly low budget, which makes it a bit more interesting. But if Superman struggles as the tentpole event thing, Supergirl probably isn't going to do particularly well. But it will be a good barometer of how much interest Superman has built up in the DCU. If that film just completely flops, then nobody really gives a fuck, which I predict it probably will.
Also rushed the making of Superman 2, Man of Tomorrow, or whatever it's called. Like, they're starting production on that like a week from now.
That's nuts.
Worth mentioning too, James Gunn pissed off a lot of his own fans with the ending of Peacemaker. Not that I've
it up a lot, didn't he?
Well, there's a lot of things people are pissed off about. There's a bit of character assassination, according to what I've read, because I don't give a fuck about that show. People feel Rick Flag Sr. was betrayed compared to his Reacher Commandos counterpart, which I thought was interesting. I guess
he wrote both shows.
Well, he not only wrote them, but he declared it as the foundational beginning of his universe, so people care, So you got to be careful. I can't confirm if he actually did. I'm just saying this is what a lot of people were complaining about. And then you have that he said the last 3 episodes were some of his like best work of all time. That they're so shocking that they couldn't be given to like reviewers because he wants to keep it close to the chest and deliver it when it's delivered. And people were pretty underwhelmed by the final episode because the 3 went the reveal of Racist World, the killing everybody in Racist World, and then the 3rd episode was like a multiversal romp through a bunch of doorways and stuff.
What? That was an insane sentence to hear.
It was, and it's true. So, because you go fucking visit Twitter after a day after like these episodes come out, and it's just a bunch of people arguing over Racist World, like whether or not it was a good choice. And it's just like, okay, what about the characters though? Like
somehow I didn't see any of those. I don't know. Maybe I got lucky and was spared from cringe ones.
You would like the Racist World, Fringy. Not Fringy, Metal. You would like. You'd like
the Racist World. You would love Racist.
I would love Racist World. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I got the genetics for it, I guess. Yeah.
There was something about like people are looking at old interviews. He said he greatly implied, if not teased, Blue Beetle would be in Peacemaker, which hasn't happened. He teased like
never see Blue Beetle again.
There's so much, dude. I can't even get through it.
Yeah,
like,
that's a movie that happened, right?
Strictly going off memory. There's a lot of people being like, I feel like James Gunn doesn't always tell the truth about these things. It's like, oh,
what?
Well, that would be crazy.
And I saw
a video of him on Twitter saying something that I think it might have been in relation to the Peacemaker finale. He put a video on Twitter saying like, "Yes, I wrote that finale. No, I'm not sorry. You should check it out. Peacemaker is streaming now."
No,
I wouldn't be doing that if I was confident that people were actually watching my show.
Yeah, so there's all of that, and I was saying to Fringy, I think yesterday or whatever, but like he lies so much more than he needs to. It's ridiculous. Like I get that there's lots of lies in the industry, but like why you?
He just does it for the love of the game.
Well, why is he getting into like arguments with random people on like Instagram? Like you're in charge of DC. Why are you getting into fights with people on the internet?
Yeah, he does that a lot.
He could say virtually nothing, and that would be much better.
But
he's just that confident in his product.
On that note, combined with the realities of the box office settling in, or setting in, well, I guess you could say both, right? Settling in and setting in.
Yeah, eating.
There's posts I've caught that are very amusing. Now, I'm not blaming the whole subreddit, okay? Some of you guys are okay. Don't come into the stream tomorrow. But
don't come to the Reddit tomorrow.
But some of these posts are just so funny, I can't ignore it. So there's a post about how we've been broken by Superman. That's the reality, and this applies to the FNT guys, to EFAP, to probably BSUP, and certainly Metal. Look at him. So
what?
There's an idea of like, it's unfortunate, you guys can be okay to good at your job, but this one, you fucking lost it. You've been broken. So they say, it's been nearly 3 months since the release of Superman, and they won't stop talking about a film they all initially said was mid and bad, not the worst thing ever. They act like it's a win for the Snyder Bros, even though it's getting a sequel. Go ahead.
Well, wait, hold on. We didn't say it was mid from the get-go.
I never said it was mid.
No.
Never said it was
always
mid.
said that it was bad from the beginning stream of it.
You guys need to remember, mid means 5 out of 10. Mid does not mean like 3 or 2.
I got told off after that first stream because I gave it a 2 out of 10 in the roundup to the first Superman stream, and then I had a bunch of people after that saying, "Oh, Platoon's forgotten what a 2 out of 10 movie looks like." But the obvious response is, "No, you've just forgotten what a 5 out of 10 movie looks like."
Yeah, I think the kindest thing we said was something along the lines of, "Well, I kind of like this character a bit, I guess."
He was Mr. Terrific. Yeah, he managed to push it up slightly, but even then,
generational scene stealer.
Generational
scene stealer.
But yeah, no, definitely. Wow. I feel like all of us said it was bad. As to worst thing ever, did any of us say it was the worst film ever?
No,
didn't.
I don't remember that.
I mean, it would be hard to be worse than Multiverse of Madness. To be fair, that's like really.
I know we said it was like it's in the competition for like one of the worst adaptations. But that's running like comic adaptations, I suppose, or comic movies. But that's a huge club.
Of the year as well, but then there's still a bit of the year left, and it keeps surprising us. So
it's worse than Tron Ares.
Yeah.
It's probably more broken, but.
I'm trying to think.
Have more fun with it.
It's probably That one's tough, actually. I'd have to...
We can revisit that after we do
Yeah.
this episode.
Well, what I was about to say is, I don't know, after watching Platoon's videos, like, Superman's really bad, but it's like, well, after Platoon's description of this film, I might change my mind on that too, so it's like, we'll have to wait and see.
Race to the bottom.
But yeah, whatever. So they said, they act like it's a win for the Snyder Bros. No, we don't.
No.
Are you new here?
What? How come everyone's forgetting the arc of us, like, slapping the
Snyder
Snyderverse over and over and over again, to the point of getting in some serious trouble?
I'm sure you all said when you watched this movie, oh man, I wish Zack Snyder comes back to make some more DC movies. I'm pretty sure that's what you guys said.
Here's the thing. We're not treating it as a win, but Man of Steel was more successful than Superman.
Which they can
These are just
use as a
No,
win if they want
can
to.
say that. They can
that's
say
just a
that.
fact. What, regardless of how you feel about it,
Not
it
even
is a
That's
adjusted.
more
not like
successful movie.
that doesn't mean that we're treating it like a success. They're treating it like a success because, I mean, why wouldn't they? Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't even matter because their universe is over. It's finished and it failed. But
Yeah,
I
reduced
just
to atoms.
find that a bit funny.
Yes, notable Snyder fans, that's true.
I anticipated that, and like that's why I threw it in the introduction to my video. Basically, a plague on both your houses. I fucking hate both of these. They're horrible, and yet the comment section is still like, Snyder fans, what'll they like? Fucking, you didn't watch even 2 minutes of the video before you left that comment, but okay, fair enough.
And then, because they went on to say, even though it's getting a sequel while the Snyderverse is dead and will never continue, like, well, sure, but, you know, Snyder Bros are going to consider this a validation that they were the right ones. You should have continued with us. Look at you, shitty Gunverse. And you can have your fight with them if you want. We don't want either of them.
They're delusional enough to think that this might mean the return of
the
Snyderverse. But they're crazy people. That's not going to happen. They'll take any tiny shred of catharsis they can get their hands on and try to spin that into hope for future installments.
Aren't they like friends, like James Gunn and Zack Snyder? Aren't they like bros?
They went on Rick and Morty together to pretend like they were friends. So
that doesn't mean shit.
I would never take my friend to be on Rick and Morty.
Exactly,
with me.
it's
I would
cruel.
never do that to a friend.
They go on to say, I will admit, Man of Steel did perform a little better, but that was during a time where superhero movies were at the apex of popularity, benefited from the post-Dark Knight trilogy hype, with Nolan's own name even attached, and yet it still failed to reach $1 billion. So how is that impressive exactly? Once again, who are you talking to?
So, yeah, like though also the apex of superhero popularity was the end of the 2010s, obviously.
Yeah.
They were getting more popular in the early 2010s, but it's obviously the end because that's when Endgame was coming out. That's when it started to be that every Marvel movie made $1 billion. Like Captain Marvel made $1 billion. They were getting more popular for sure, but I mean, such is the climate that you exist in. So if you're trying to make money, you can't just say that. Like, oh, this movie didn't make the money that we needed it to. Well, it's a bad climate. Oh, okay, you're still losing money. So what's the point of even saying that? It still didn't do as well.
And they say, Superman still scored better, has a far more likable Clark Kent and Lois Lane, a far superior Lex Luthor, and isn't a nearly 3-hour film with mass destruction rivaling that of a Transformers film.
Lex is one of the worst villains ever put to screen. I would say that. He's awful. He's absolutely terrible. And he actually does bring on sort of mass Transformers level destruction because he tries to tear reality in half. What movie were you watching?
Yeah, I was confused about that. Metropolis gets split in half in the new movie.
It
but
has
it's
been
fine.
ripped in twain.
Also, like, why are we still like on Man of Steel actually at this point?
It's
Like,
funny you
why-
say that.
why
The
would
post ends with, also, Clark doesn't ignore his stepfather because of a stupid-ass tornado, and Pa Kent wasn't an asshole who contemplated leaving school kids to die drowning and while trapped in a bus. Dude, why are you aiming this at us?
Why is this still? Why
we're
still
not
on
going
Man
to
of Steel?
defend. Yeah, you
Man of
won't
Steel
catch us
sucked.
defending Man of Steel. That
Yeah,
movie's balls.
It's a
It's
terrible
balls.
movie. But why aren't we making the comparison to Christopher Reeve 1978 Superman though?
Yeah, that would be the
Can we
best
not
version.
make that comparison because that's the
even
better
then,
movie?
Like, if the line is, at least he didn't ignore his stepfather because of a stupid tornado, then James Gunn's answer to that is, well, he ignored his stupid stepfather because. I mean, there's no reason for it in the Superman 25 movie. The reason for it in Man of Steel is present. It's just a really terrible reason, but at least some work was attempted. It was just very badly done. This one didn't even try the work. He just doesn't pay attention to his stepdad.
Just because obviously they don't know. Type in Man of Steel EFAP movies into YouTube, and it should be first result, I'd imagine. And you can watch us watch the movie, and we say a lot about it. I will say that much. We weren't fans.
We loved it. It's great.
It's amazing.
What a fine
No,
film.
I just find it funny. It's like, but it's so much better than Man of Steel. Why aren't you saying, but it's so much better than Donner's Superman? Are you not saying that because it's self-evident that it's not even close?
Curious.
Something
So
to think about.
I thought that post was amusing, but then there was another one following it up. And to be fair, these have both been downvoted pretty harshly on the subreddit, like I said. Some of them are cool. Don't come in tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. But
No.
so I'm just going to go through some bullet points. They watched our disastrous stream. You have both Platoon's video, Retarded Avengers 2, but also like the first stream we did as well. It's a combination of different perspectives and stuff, and there's just things we got wrong. So we're here to correct the record, and I'll start with the most relevant point since we were just talking about it. Quote: Superman wasn't a success. Well, it did better than any other superhero movie this year.
This year.
By the way, you've already fucked
This
up.
year.
If your response to that is, well, it did better than.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
yeah.
What?
This year.
So Thunderbolts,
Fantastic Four.
Brave New World, and Fantastic Four.
Brave New World.
Jesus.
And it didn't do much better than Fantastic Four. But, like, it's kind of funny how you can't compare it to last year because Deadpool and Wolverine made more than twice the amount of money as Superman. If you're like, well, of course it did. It's like, I don't know. Why are we saying that? Well, of course it did.
Of course.
Superman. Like, yeah, it's Deadpool and Wolverine. This is Superman.
Yes, Superman.
Can we not pretend that Superman is not a
Batman,
huge
Superman,
character
Spider-Man
with a
exist
huge
in their own
IP?
tier. That I'm not sure that even Wolverine breaches. He's getting pretty close, but... So I don't even know why we're doing that. And also, who cares about whether it did better? What matters is, did it make money? And right now, it's in a position of like,
It's just so funny.
Did it even?
It did better than the other flops. It's like, that's not an answer.
Flops, yeah.
It just failed the least, which is not a very strong mark in its favor.
Yeah.
So they continue.
The fastest loser is not great.
It's getting a sequel. Yeah.
So did Man of Steel.
Okay.
So did Batman v Superman.
So
They
did
probably had
John.
that. They probably had that greenlit before the
Development.
movie even came out.
Oh, they would definitely. They're giving Gunn a lot more time than just one movie. Absolutely.
Mhm.
We gotta
like,
test this out.
They probably would want to commit for and again maybe it's something we talked about last time. Oh, it's a loss leader or something. Maybe that actually is the thing.
Yeah.
We need to
But-
lose money to make money. We
That's-
gotta spend
that's
money
the-
to make money.
Then they
the
say.
loss leader. Yeah,
then
yeah,
they
Superman.
say, I don't see why the first film in a series has to be even a smash hit.
Oh.
I mean,
that's-
it doesn't have to be.
it
But
would be
what do you
nice if it
think
was,
they
though.
want it to be? Yeah, what do you think DC wants it to be? Do you think they
I
want
think
it to
that
be
they
a
would-
loss leader or a massive box office mega hit to launch their new
You know,
franchise?
Who
It's
made
kind
that
of
thing
funny.
in Retarded Avengers? It was like actually they did it right because they didn't make the movie too good.
You don't want it
If
too
make
good. You don't want it too good.
Then it
You don't
would be
want
hard
it
to
too
beat.
No. It's the Destiny 2 strategy. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. Like Iron Man was successful, and I'm sure, and that was good. That was probably a good way to start, was by making money. But I suppose you could start by not making money. That's a viable strategy.
Also, when
Sustainable
someone,
long-term.
if you're responding to the quote, Superman wasn't a success, and your response is, I don't see why it has to be a smash hit. It's like that doesn't really address it's not that
Feels
it's
like there's an implication there.
yeah. And then they end with, the movie has it's built a fan base now, and we'll see how Man of Tomorrow does. Well, it'd be
will.
pretty embarrassing
we'll
if there were
see.
no fans.
We
Like,
will
yeah.
see.
And yeah, we
See.
definitely will see. So that's just
We
the
will see.
box office side. There's also,
Okay.
I guess you could call this miscellaneous. They're mad at me because I said, they've got me quoted as, Peacemaker has too much swearing. Don't you think
What?
that it's probably a little more than that? because I like
Was
movies.
that all you said? Did you just say that and then we were like, yeah, okay, moving on?
Well, they responded, "Are we for fucking real? How is this a problem?" So what I actually said was that James Gunn has his characters swearing every fucking other fucking word for fucking fuck's sake, fuck, and it is extremely distracting. It doesn't sound natural at all. And it was frustrating because it felt really childish, like immature. So watching the one episode that I did of season 2, I was struck pretty fast by how there's like a group of 3 or 4 people, and all of them have at least like 2 or 3 fucks per sentence. And I was just like, why are you all written the same, and why are you all spamming that word? And of course, my assumption is James Gunn wrote this pretty fast, and I don't know. I think it's perfectly fine for a lot of people to rely on certain words because they've got certain crutches or whatever. But you redraft and you go, oh yeah, I should probably thin that out or move that around or try and make each of them sound more like individuals rather than just swearing everywhere all the time. There are some movies that have a really high swear count that can pull it off. One of the more commonly
The Departed has a lot of swearing.
yeah. There's a few others as well. It's down to that point you're going to need a lot of context, but with this, oof. Just the dialogue was rough anyway, but it was among a lot of complaints I had. I said I may have opened with it has way too much swearing and then gone into all of this, but they seem to only have snatched that as a quote. So I'm like, cool. I'm glad we're
they got you.
yeah, glad we're at that point. So anyway,
I mean, it's similar to when all your heroes or protagonists or main characters, whatever, just all quip all the time. Like everyone is not taking anything seriously. It works the same way when everybody just swears randomly without any reason to it.
Instead of having like one character who has that as a personality, they all just kind of meld together like they're the same, like slightly different flavors of the same person. Yeah,
like it feels like one of you shouldn't be swearing this much because you're a different person.
Yes. Also, someone just mentioned it could be because of improv, which is very likely as well from what I've heard about the production of Peacemaker, but can't confirm.
It just sounds like everyone sounds like the writer in this case. That's just how James Gunn talks.
Well, improv worked well for Ghostbusters, so...
Yeah, I'm not against swearing. Just want to make sure that's clear. So, onto the plot line of Superman. Just got a couple of criticisms of our assessments. For example, quote, why is Lex helping Baravia for petroleum when he can make a pocket universe? That's the quote. And you got, Lex isn't helping Baravia for petroleum. He explicitly says that he engineered the conflict to cause problems for Superman. So, what's interesting about this is that when we brought that up, I actually said why I brought that up, because I'm pretty sure I asked it. I said it was a line I didn't even realize was in the film until Platoon's video, where I heard it, where Lois says that he's interested in having that portion of the country because he wants petroleum. She says that as a result of her research. You can call her a retard too if you want. It's fine with me.
That's allowed.
Lois says it from the hero's perspective. So like, this is the information that she is basically given by the contact in a bank that they discover that they just randomly have because it's time to move the plot along and explain stuff. She says this is what he's after, and his cultish acolytes, i.e. the people who work for him, think this is what he's after. He's going to build a technological utopia. Lex tells Gurkos, the person he's in league with, that this is what he's after. The maps which show half of Baravia, designated Luthor land, or whatever the fuck it's called, are real. And he actually does want it. It's not an either-or proposition. His main plan, yes, is to use Baravia to take down Superman, though that is completely redundant because he already has everything to do that as soon as he has the message from his parents. But nevertheless, he does also want half of Jarampur. He does say this repeatedly.
Yeah,
that is the plan.
Definitely wants that,
the stated reason is petroleum deposits because they're worth a lot of money. Obviously, if you can make a big bang in a mega collider and create a universe, the word pocket doesn't change anything, then you kind of are a bit above petroleum deposits as a need for income.
A bit.
Little bit.
Well, they go on to address that. They say, we have no idea what the Pocket Universe runs on. Why is it obvious that the Pocket Universe would have worthwhile resources? It seems pretty barren to me.
Are we gonna pretend like that anti-proton like river wouldn't be like one of the most valuable fucking things ever?
I feel like I watched a different movie. There was shit tons of valuable things in that Pocket Universe.
It's a universe. It's a universe with a bunch of crazy shit in it. And if you can just create a universe, that means you've also created the material that comprises that universe. And some of the material in that universe is really crazy, like that fucking river. I don't know why you wouldn't just bottle some of that up and sell that for like $1 bajillion. And we
Yeah.
know that
Pretty
he
much-
could do that because he built suits that were impervious to that river. He built suits that were better than any tech that Mr. Terrific had that could deal with that river. So he could absolutely do it. I don't know, man. Feels like that would probably be worth more than some oil in the ground, but okay, you know.
Probably any
Yep.
material
Maybe I'm
that's
wrong.
exotic to the planet Earth would be super valuable in and
Yeah.
of itself.
Yeah,
Or-
and also the main use of petroleum deposits would be to be sold primarily as fuel, but also for use in making plastics and things like that. So like it has, for our current day world, it is quite valuable. But one of the main technologies we're currently after, which would make all of this redundant, is nuclear fusion, the ability to essentially create a small sun and keep it sustainably running forever. Basically, then unlimited free energy, or close enough as makes no difference. Lex can make a big bang. That's what he says.
Yep.
A big bang, bit more energy in it than a sun. He also happens to have a person who can make the sun, but by the by. So it's just, I think the universe slightly struggles to keep a scale going here, and I don't think that putting the word pocket in front of it makes any difference whatsoever.
No.
Nope.
They definitely rely on that, pocket. So it's not like a real universe, but except it is.
Except it is.
Created from the Big Bang, so it's a universe. It is just an alternate plane of reality.
So next up, quote, "The cinematography is bad and looks like The Flash." Best of luck responding to this, because you read it, you're like, okay, that sounds ironclad, but all right, yeah, fair enough, let's go. So the response is yes. Henry Braham, I'm not 100% sure, did the cinematography for The Flash. He also did the cinematography for Guardians 2, Guardians 3, The Suicide Squad, which I would hope EFAP would praise, as there are consistently awesome work in those. I don't know why this is relevant.
Different movies.
Why is this relevant?
Different
Those
movies.
are,
yeah.
The
The
reason
guy who
Man,
did the
they-
cinematography for the live-action How to Train Your Dragon did cinematography on Edgar Wright films. But
The
it
guy
doesn't
who-
change the fact that the How to Train Your Dragon live-action remake is a profoundly dull-looking movie.
The guy who shot The Matrix also shot Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So it's really more of a what have
that's
you
the
done
same
to me?
guy.
Bill Pope,
We
yeah.
don't-
That's-
Oh, is it?
Well,
yeah.
No,
it's
we
the
don't
same
have
guy.
to talk about like this
Yeah.
in terms of writing, do we? All the writers that fell off? I certainly hope
Mm.
not.
Well, yeah, well,
I mean,
but
the-
to address it, the reason we're picking The Flash is because it looks like The Flash. It
It
doesn't
looks
look
a lot
like
it.
Guardians
The
2.
camera spinning around in ways that just seem like that just look really fucking weird. I don't know how else to describe it.
Also,
other
just
than
like-
that. It
More
just
like
looks
The Flash
really
than
Washed out,
Guardians.
strange and
overexposed.
artificial.
There's a lot of little tells
Yeah.
and stuff. But saying it is bad is the important part. It looks like The Flash is something that's satisfying to discover. It's the
kinda
same
funny.
cinematography.
Yeah.
Oh, but to say well, he's done other stuff. It's cool.
All right.
Yeah.
And if those are good, we'll praise them.
Exactly.
They continue. I would argue Superman has good cinematography. Okay. They don't.
Okay, I mean, we would argue that it's bad, so I'm glad that we've gotten somewhere with this.
They don't have any detailed criticism for the camera work other than it looks like The Flash and it spins around too much. Purely subjective. I'm pretty sure we were much more specific than that.
We
i.e.,
definitely would have said more than that.
the scene everyone was gushing over with Mr. Terrific, I said you can't fucking see a lot of it 'cause it keeps putting Lois in the way after all the work the cinematographer / choreographer would have done, as well as the actors. It was annoying the hell out of me. And then just spinning around is not. That's not. It's J.J. Abrams did this for a really long time. He just kept spinning around groups of people talking. And it was why? Why are you doing that? And it's because it's more. It makes people feel like it's more alive. You're like,
Dynamic and exciting. It's like
Okay.
you're walking around the scene.
And I mean, if there's more stuff to talk about, the way that the camera moves is often it's uncanny in a lot of instances. It's it feels almost distracting the way that the camera moves, where when you're stitching. Because, for instance, in the Mr. Terrific scene, some of the ways that the camera, the shots are stitched together, it's man, I saw that, and that didn't look great. The camera is, moving incredibly erratically because you're trying to stitch these two takes together. Or that really bad shot that I don't know why they put it in the trailer, where they're in the splitting apart world, and then Superman grabs a big, pillar and smashes Ultraman. I mean, the way that camera moves is just whoa, something's wrong.
Well, and
This doesn't feel right.
and was mentioned.
There's something wrong with this.
Sort of there's nothing. There's maybe a handful of shots where composition will have you going oh, they put that there and that there, but for the average, this budget movie, you expect a little bit more from a cinematographer instead of being like, oh, this is all jumbled. This is a real chaotic mess. And then there's a lot of lack of color, or there's a washed outness to the Flash that I feel like was in this as well. With Superman.
And it's kind of a thing that started to exist in because this guy also worked on he did work on Guardians 3 and Suicide Squad, right? And both of those is like, there's some, I don't know what it is, but the colors don't look quite right in both of those films. They are it's like Ahsoka. You know how like Ahsoka looks very like white for some reason, like the every frame it's like feels like the white values are like a lot higher than you would want them to be.
So they say there's nothing for anyone who liked the camera work to do with that criticism. It's not persuasive at all. I can point out many shots in Superman where the camera work adds meaning and dynamism to the film. They can't say anything other than "but the Flash." So again, just another sort of swing and miss. Like that's just not what happened. But I could tell you're very upset, and that's okay. Superman made people very passionate, which is good in terms of getting people passionate about art is always fun, but hopefully in the right directions and with good results. So they go on to say, quote, well, it's not even a quote, it's the truth, justice, and American way problem. I feel like this one was just something that a lot of people...
problem in quotes?
They've put truth, justice, and the American way in quotes. So this is a subject that a lot of people have obviously spoken on. I didn't realize there'd be many people defending taking out the American way without having some kind of cringeworthy argument that doesn't address at all like the spirit behind the quote. But they say, in the comics, the phrase has been changed to truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. Superman would not support America and wouldn't have since 2016.
Okay.
The phrase they mention is a random, awful marketing one that changes it to human way, which is silly, I admit. They claim that James Gunn made that. That is a lie. He didn't. I'm pretty sure we said we didn't know exactly who made it. Because I don't.
Whether he made it or not, he approved it. He thought it was
it's also it's in his film, so whatever.
Yeah.
They just hate him, so whatever. I mean, he's kind of an ass at this point, sure.
Yeah, he's a liar and an asshole.
Didn't seem like he took issue with Snyder hatred, but whatever. It's just lame that they will never talk about the actual one, and they would probably still hate it. I prefer Better Tomorrow than Human Way.
It does sound nice. Yeah, it's less clunky and forced, but it's still. It's an unnecessary call attention to yourself kind of change. It's one of those things where, like, you make the change and people complain about it, and then the person who made the change says, oh, it doesn't matter. Why are you complaining about it? So, well, okay, if it doesn't matter, then why did you change it? Evidently it does. There was a point I was going to include in my Superman video, and if I hadn't caught the flu, so I couldn't record it. But I think, if I recall correctly, the phrase truth, justice, and the American way, it is in the 1978 Superman, and it's followed up by somebody saying essentially that, the government's going to be after you for stuff after this. There are ways to maintain that without actually it being like an on-the-nose, patriotic, current-day American endorsement. Because the idea of the phrase originally isn't supposed to be, well, it went through a period where, like, during the war, Superman was selling war bonds for the government. But then after that point, it then became detached from the current dayness of America, and America reverts to being the stand-in for, like, the universal human values that Superman represents. Confident Country says that it is fundamentally the end of history. It's the shining city on the hill. It's not saying, like, we endorse specific president. What it is saying is we endorse the values that America represents. That has been historically what's made Superman quite successful overseas, because the 78 movie performed better overseas slightly than it did even in America. You can maintain that phraseology without people saying, oh, it must be referencing Donald Trump, so fuck it. It's just fundamentally boring and lazy to be told that Superman wouldn't support America since that thing happened in 2016 that I, the audience member, don't like.
So the
if that's like the line of logic that's being used, how do they reconcile Superman saying that before the Civil Rights Act was passed?
The shorter way of saying everything that the little platoon did, because he doesn't know what brevity is basically just America, fuck yeah, suck my dick and lick my balls. Yeah. That's kind of, and that's what Superman's all about, 100%. Anyway, I want to get to the next part because it's really funny. Rags implies that Superman represents America. That's not the case. That's the sentence. And then He is the champion of the oppressed. Platoon doesn't understand that time exists, and says and says that the 78 movie did well internationally and had the American way line. I wonder what has happened in America recently that would make the most of the world hate it. So
I wonder what state was America in 1978? Because I can tell you it wasn't very happy at that time.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the entire world adored America, and so did America love itself. There was nothing wrong. 78 was it was beautiful and amazing, and nothing went wrong with anything.
Everything was fine until 2016.
That's where it all changed.
Then the Fire Nation attacked.
Damn it.
And to be clear, Superman absolutely does represent American values. When they change it to things like the human way or a better tomorrow, it's like, okay, well, better how? In reference to what set of values are we trying to improve things? It's like so in everything Superman does, it's a set of values that aren't like exclusive entirely to the United States and the people of the United States, but he obviously does represent America and American culture and values. He doesn't represent Iraq. Okay. Like they're
except to the
different
degree
values.
that people in Iraq will look at America, and so some will, maybe less so in Iraq than other countries, admittedly, but lots of people around the world will still wave American flags when they're protesting against their own dictatorial governments. Like, it's not...
Sure.
These people don't look at America and say, I agree with the current president, I want to be a Republican voter. What they look at America as what their ancestors looked at America as being, which is like, this is the... Like, it is, again, shining city on the hill. This is the place we go to flee tyranny and oppression. This is like the embodiment of human liberty and freedom and all the nice, fun stuff. And we will occasionally have conflicts with our own government over this question, but that is essentially what the idea of the nation represents, and therefore Superman also represents. Anthony Mackie got in trouble for this when he said that Captain America didn't represent America. Like, people seem to miss this point a lot, and it's not that difficult to get your head around if you sort of free yourself from modern day political obsessions and start looking back toward what countries are supposed to represent.
Well, it feels weird. We got British and Australian people here trying to be like, keep the American way line, please.
Yeah. I prefer Captain America to Captain Britain.
Wait, I thought everyone hated us. I thought everyone in the world hated us. What are you talking about?
When do we get Captain Germany?
We had one of those. It didn't go
We beat him. Captain America punched him, actually.
We beat him.
Wow. We had one and you beat him? That's so mean.
We had one.
What do I get?
We over here in Germany, we don't get shit.
We don't.
So, still on Platoon's quotes, he says, Captain America is a beloved character around the world when he explicitly is always fighting the American government. Like, are we fucking serious? So I guess he's saying, you're saying Captain America is pretty well loved, you know, but what's the difference here? And he's saying, yeah, he's loved because he fights the American government. So, there's many things. Yeah, let's just get the citations sorted, right? First, Captain America fights for the government. Captain America 2, you can definitely argue he's fighting for the government against the corruption within the government. You know, it's as in, like, there's a good and bad. 3, it ain't the American government Cap's disagreeing with, it's the UN. That's the world.
Yeah, fuck you, UN.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's kind of a little more complicated than fuck America from Captain America. In fact, it's not that at all in any of his movies. Because it's a lot more meaningful than that. It's a lot more complicated. He values the freedom of the individual, which is, I think, the spirit within America. That's what Captain America embodies.
That's the use of his character in the second movie in particular. He has the conversation with Nick Fury about the merits of the security state, essentially, and it is pretty much explicitly billed as an argument between the old values of old America and the new modern values of the current American government. And the film is quite clearly on Cap's side on that point. And it's not saying America is shit and must be fought. It's saying America has deviated from the values it used to represent and should be returned to those things.
And then also, why are we randomly complaining about men taking women's names in marriage? What the fuck? Just throws that on the end.
Because that shit's
hate
cringe.
Women. That's why.
We do
that what
hate
you
women.
want to hear?
If I was a woman, I'd think that's the most cringe shit ever. I'd call off the marriage if my fiance came to me and said, "Oh, actually, honey, we're gonna be taking your name." I'm like, "Oh."
What if you're Idubs and you hate your last name?
He wouldn't be my fiance.
Mr. Dubs.
If we're at that point, other things have gone horrifically wrong.
Next up is Superman isn't interested in Clark Kent. That's what we said, because we said there's barely any Clark Kent. It's mainly Superman. And their response is, this is a clear misreading of the film. Clark Kent is the guy we see throughout the whole film. This film, as most comic stories do, doesn't show much of Clark Kent persona that Clark puts on, which is okay. So they found a way to disagree with us and then agree with us.
Yeah, that's kind of strange.
That's wacky.
What we highlighted was there was no dichotomy. He was pretty much the same guy throughout the whole film, and they didn't do any kind of like stretching of his personal human persona versus the hero he needs to be to blah blah blah. It's all kind of one character, and it feels like a waste. In fact, we get do we say there's 2 scenes and one of them is almost irrelevant for Clark, and that's about it? The rest of them are
Pretty
Superman
much.
scenes,
Yeah.
pretty much.
We get very little time seeing him being Clark Kent in a professional or a public environment that we can use to juxtapose with his Superman, personality.
No, there's a lot of
basically,
dramatic
like
richness.
99% of the interactions that he has are with people who know that he's Superman. So it's like there's nothing to be concealed in that regard. As like, for an example of the kinds of things that would happen, just if you had more scenes with him interacting with people who didn't know that he was Superman, and he needed to try and drive home that difference.
Also, I mean, the dramatic richness that the 78 movie exploits really well is, he has to try and reconcile these 2 seemingly contradictory elements of his own person. Like, how can I be both a man and and a god at the same time? When I'm a god, I seem to be unstoppable and all-powerful, and it's my human attachments and human connections that seem to be my biggest weakness. But then, by virtue of them being his biggest weakness, he discovers they're also his greatest strength, and they're the thing that inspires him to fuse these 2 parts of himself and become, like the predestined godlike creature that he is. But like the injection of the humanity is the vital ingredient to that. Whereas with this one, because he seems pretty much entirely confident with, like, they're pre-reconciled almost. The movie has so little interest in the human side of things, despite humanity being its theme, that he just goes around doing all the relatively boring Superman stuff, and at no point are any of his human attachments ever in peril, which just makes for a really, really, really flat movie.
So we have, this film doesn't present Superman with a difficult choice. I would say that is somewhat a quote, but you develop it into he doesn't get challenged in the film is kind of where we would go with that on anything pretty much, other than he gets beaten down. But like we meant more of a fundamental, like philosophical way. And so their response is, this is not a problem. The film is about how he sees himself. It's about his personal journey to have a better foundation. It doesn't need a big dilemma like The Dark Knight. We'll start with this. I think the film does believe it has a dilemma for him, and that his dad manages to get him through it. We commented on that dilemma being extremely thin and all borderline pointless.
It is pointless because it was never a dilemma.
No. Even like this framing saying it's about his personal journey to have a better foundation. I mean, his foundation was the Kents. It always was. I don't, this is why this doesn't work in the film. I'm sorry.
The fact the movie doesn't acknowledge that is a problem with the movie, because it's so obviously that the movie has to ignore it right up until the moment when he goes back to his home, and then his dad basically says, "Hey, it's not your parents who determine what you do, it's you." And it's like, oh, yeah, but how many years did you grow up with these people?
It's made a worse
30.
problem because this is the only film where he doesn't get to interact with Jor-El, AI Jor-El, who is basically kind of like a person. All he has is a 30-second message, and he claims that he derives essentially more motivation from that 30. How could he believe that that's possible? That he derives more motivation from like a 30-second message than being raised by his parents on Earth? Like in the Donner Superman, he spends several years interacting with Jor-El. So, like, if anything, the other films, and even in Man of Steel, he gets more interactions with him. Those films can make a better case for this being, like, a sort of a conclusion that he might draw in terms of where his values are derived from. And this one, it just doesn't make any sense. And then it's like, well, yeah, but that's what he's told at the end of the film. It's like, why would he need to be told this? This should just be self-evident to him.
So they then just go a different way. This is within the same point, but it's not the same point. They say, I think it's funny that EFAP says the movie's structured pocket universe rules are unreasonable. Did we say this? The structured pocket universe rules are unreasonable. I thought our main thing was just how insanely out of control it already is.
This is a thing that he's apparently able to do. The power scaling of the universe has jumped the gun.
And then, of course,
right off the
there's character problems then as well with like resources lacks, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, and then they go on to praise the moral dilemma of the 78 film, which is, should I go back in time or not, with no drawbacks or consequences for going back in time? How is that not universe breaking? And this is. How many times do we have to explain this? Like, this has come up. This will be the third or fourth now.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do it again.
So, so let's go with no drawbacks or consequences. So the consequences are that, as Platoon already kind of just mentioned, it's the decision is about how he's going to engage with the world as a hero. Will he lead humanity into a better future according to what he believes in? Like as getting more involved as would Jonathan would have wanted him to, because his power is worth more than shooting hoops or whatever the fuck. Or will he follow Jor-El's instruction and try to help guide whatever, but never change the fate of humanity? Because that's not your role. And he makes his choice at the end of the film, so he's defying Jor-El. That is the consequence of that decision. Now, no drawbacks. I mean, I guess that comes in with the consequences of it's all about the synthesis of those two sort of different people, different parents raising him. He's had to defy one, go with the other, but still at the same time create a combination of both. It's all character stuff. Like the idea that I don't really understand this, because you're saying like, well, it didn't destroy Jupiter as a consequence or something. It's just like, yeah, it wouldn't. Why would it? And then of course, like, how is it not universe breaking? Well, we said it actually in and of itself can work. It's just that you can't really build sequels on something like that, because it's always going to be.
They tried, yeah. It's a problem for the sequels, but it's not a problem for the original movie that did it. But it's also, I think, notable that what is just been hailed as completely sufficient for Superman 25, which is finding yourself a better foundation, i.e. choosing between your two parents, is now not sufficient for Superman 78, even though the same basic idea is in play. It's just that 78 makes it a really interesting dilemma, whereas 25 doesn't. One of them is, you have to be a god, you are a steward of the world, but you will never intervene in the world. This is your Kryptonian legacy. And him finding a better foundation for his character is kind of letting go of that, in the way that in Superman 25, him letting go of his Kryptonian foundation is not going around the planet raping everyone. Just one of those just seems a little bit more mature than the other one. I don't know.
And I think a good comparison actually might be the Snyder Cut, if you remember. Our criticism at the time was he gets told he can't do a big reversal of time because the consequences could destroy the universe. It doesn't. We were like, well then, there's no tension then.
So why wouldn't he, just do it every time?
Superman can't do this action because he's been told it's absolutely not what his role should be. It's the kind of power he shouldn't engage with, and that it goes too far, sort of thing. But he decides that it's important and the right thing to do. I don't know what else to say about this. I guess maybe how does spinning around the world rewind time? I don't know. I don't know why it does that. But it's not hard to, a little bit silly? Like, if you define that as the case, that's what we're talking about with sequels. It's like, well, then that is the case. So
these are your rules that you've established. So now you got to follow them, which of course will create problems in sequels, as it does.
Which is a particularly relevant point for Superman 25, when it's all about establishing sequels, establishing a cinematic universe.
Because Lex can create a pocket universe that has a black hole in it that could destroy the world. That's something that he always will now have access to forever in everything.
EFAP says, Superman was robbed of the choice when Superman deliberately made the choice to not give up the information and let Marley die. Like, did they not fucking watch the movie? I just don't understand.
He didn't have anywhere near enough time to even understand the choice. Like, the idea that he made the choice, he didn't make the choice, and the film doesn't treat it like he made the choice.
This is where you haven't watched the fucking movie, because if Superman actually felt he was the reason Marley had died, don't you think there would have been a portion of the film dedicated to that?
Had something about that. Maybe there would have been one line of dialogue where he acknowledges that.
You would have a scene near the end where he goes to his family and explains what happened and says he's a hero,
Yeah.
Like, it's something like that, which, to be honest with you, they probably should have had that anyway. I thought that Marley getting killed sort of disappears from the film eventually.
Well, the thing is...
Well, they use it as a funny meme, almost. It's like, oh, that went
They do.
quicker than I thought. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's
Like,
okay.
I'm sorry.
Goodbye, character.
He wrote that. That is really
Well, I
weird.
appreciate
Yeah.
also.
Superman there howling because this man has died, and then is like, oh, Russian roulette, huh? It's kind of crazy how that went quick.
Yeah, whoops.
Like, there's a weird tone that you are not balancing here.
Well, just Lex is supposed to be smarter than that. He clearly isn't in that scene, and his lack of intelligence in that moment bails Superman out from having to make a very difficult choice. That's what we said, and this response doesn't address anything. So thanks.
True. That's just true. It is
Yep.
nowhere near enough time to even recognize the choice before him, and he doesn't even acknowledge it as being like.
If he had done the same thing, but waited like a minute or so in between each pull of the trigger, that would have been better.
Yeah,
that'd be a lot better. Here's a timer. You got a minute.
No.
Whoa, Lois Lane is unlikable and a bitch.
True, she is unlikable and a bitch.
So this is just crazy to me. I don't even know what to say. Is it because she pressed him in the interview? Is that not justified? They later get mad at one of the reviewers for saying that Lois in 78 was underdeveloped. They say that she has flaws in that one. What flaws? She doesn't do much. The Lois in this one has real flaws. You guys just don't care and call her a bitch anyway.
That's one way to say it, that she has real flaws.
I'd like to know what they are.
Yeah, let me know.
It's kind of funny that the comments like, oh yeah, what are the flaws of 78? This one has real ones. It's like, yeah, like what?
Real flaws.
I mean,
I would say that her flaw is just her fucking attitude towards Clark. She is being she's being antagonistic in a way that is not productive or conducive to a good relationship or interview, but she tries to frame it as such. She seems to be extremely uncaring towards their relationship and unappreciative of him.
So they say, sorry, I just got lost. Quote, why did they not go back? No, why did they go back to Smallville when Superman's been poisoned? Why didn't Metamorpho heal him? We got 3 counters here. First counter, Mr. Terrific assessed him and said he'd be fine.
Oh, okay. Well then.
He wasn't fine, so like he was very much not fine.
He would be fine eventually if he got healed, but he needs to be healed.
Yeah, this doesn't address the point at all.
They took him to a place at night.
What we were talking about was insta-healing him versus him healing slowly. So Mr. Terrific can be correct, and our criticism could be correct as well at the same time. All right, counter 2.
Solitude, get him in there, and then give him the big. And if that is inaccessible, if we're going to say that it is impossible to get him there, take him at least someplace where the sun is up.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that be a good idea?
Counter 2.
Instead of a place where the planet's in the way.
Second counter is Metamorpho already did heal him. Do it again.
Yeah, finish the job.
Yeah, keep doing it.
Yep. Third counter, the kryptonite poisoning apparently is just lingering side effects the sun can't heal. Okay, you made that up.
That's made up.
That's not in the film.
That's not in the film.
Nope. That's some bullshit. So yeah, all right, it's solid. This is what I'm gonna keep for last. Okay, so we'll skip to this other one. A Mr. Terrific project would be a failure because Superman didn't make money. Why the fuck would the success of this movie have anything to do with the success of a future potential Mr. Terrific project? Is Fringy for real? That's fucking retarded.
Yeah, Fringy.
Explain yourself. Fringy, go on.
Yeah, Fringy.
The fuck is wrong with you?
Sometimes I wonder about you.
Yeah.
It's just, I feel like I don't really need to. To me, it seems pretty self-evident
Well, these
why
are special
you might
people,
want to
Fringy.
point to. I mean, I don't know. Seems like if you have a side character in a movie that didn't do great, it would be kind of presumptuous to assume that if you made a movie for that character, it would do a lot better. It's possible, I guess, but it seems unlikely.
Well, that's retarded.
Well, you tried, Fringy.
Listen, just because Superman didn't make all the profits
I can't believe myself sometimes.
doesn't mean Mr. Terrific wouldn't, all right? It's not an incredibly bad plan to try that or anything.
So stupid.
So their other counter is, most people didn't even know that guy was before the movie. Why did Black Panther make more than Civil War? Before Black Panther, wouldn't Captain America and fucking Iron Man be bigger draws than Black Panther?
Well, Civil War made $1 billion, which is a lot of money. So and then for Black
Superman
Panther
wishes
to
it
then
made.
go on and make about $1 billion It did make more, but about $1 billion. It's like, doesn't that just kind of make sense, given that Black Panther was really cool in Civil War?
Yeah.
And Civil War was very successful.
It feels
in
like
an
this
era
proves
where
the
Marvel
point.
movies were starting to trend upwards. Yeah, isn't this
Civil War,
actually a great example?
Yeah, this is actually the worst example you could pick because Civil War did really well, and then it launched 2 other characters into their own movies that did really fucking well because the MCU was
really
healthy as
well.
shit.
Yeah, when the environment was
Yeah.
super conducive to that sort of thing, when it is not now. Plus, there's a lot of
I don't even know why you'd bring that up.
No,
Yeah,
I don't really understand either.
So yeah, I guess I am for real. Yeah, doesn't that just make perfect sense, really? That like the success of spin-offs is going to be somewhat contingent on the film that they're spun off from. I don't know. Seems like intuitive to me, but
I'm sure there's flukes out there. Like, exceptions can happen, but
I mean,
you don't want to
like,
play on the
Frasier ran
exceptions.
for longer than Cheers, but Cheers was really successful in its own right. You know, like a lot of the spin-offs you could point to as being more successful. It's like, yeah, generally the thing they were spun off from was pretty successful in and of itself.
Quote, Superman is close to the worst comic book movie of all time. And the response is, I don't have much to say about this quote. I just want people to understand that EFAP thinks this movie is a 1 out of 10. Do we?
2.
2 out of 10. 2 out of 10. That's double what you said,
True.
so yeah.
Exactly.
100% increase.
Off by double. Yeah,
and I saved this for last because it's my favorite. Quote, gay mustache man. And their rebuttal.
What?
At one point, Platoon calls Sidney Hepperson gay mustache man. That seems weird. Unless I missed something, he isn't gay. I don't know what behaviors of his would be called gay. Just really weird. I really don't like Platoon, I think.
Well, I guess we know who wrote this
Get
comment.
wrecked, Platoon.
And now I
Get
guess
fucked. How will you ever recover from this one?
He just
I
has
don't know,
a really
man.
gay moustache. That's all I was saying.
Oh my god, I can't believe you said it again.
people can have gay mustaches, all right?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. It's
Dude,
just,
Stream's
It's
gonna
fine.
be...
It's just gay.
Stream's
Wait.
getting banned.
Is the comment implying that gay is an insult?
Apparently.
Wait
Which is
Oh,
infinitely
it's
amusing.
factually
Oh
inaccurate.
my
It's a
goodness.
factually inaccurate comment because actually there's no evidence that he actually does like fuck other guys, so he's not actually gay. So you can't call him gay because that's misadvertising.
I see.
It's homophobic and it's just wrong. Apparently, I made a terrible mistake with calling the guy gay mustache man. I'll never do it again.
Can you make a video with just an apology?
I should probably do that. Yeah.
Good. That's
4
better
hours.
than awesome. But yes.
The mustache can be gay, but the man can be straight.
That's
Sometimes.
entirely possible.
Yeah. Good point, actually. Very good point. And in conclusion, the movie has a crap ton of flaws, but I have to agree with disliking EFAP's coverage. Some of their arguments are disingenuous, others are tone deaf, and others are just plain dumb. So combine this with the box office chatter, and I would say I don't believe our brains were quite broken by Superman, but there's definitely some people who probably qualify on that front, and I hope they make it over the next course of chapters for information coming out. Like I said, it's going to get even more transparent over the years of just what damage Superman did to the beginning of DCU. I've talked to different people about it. We've talked about it on here, but it's a really bad start in a lot of different ways.
It is very obvious. Yeah, they're fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah.
With a start this bad.
I'm not even necessarily referring to like the quality of the film or even the box office numbers. It's just a horrible place to begin telling a whole bunch of stories. That 300 years of metahumans, that's going to bite them in the ass over and over and over again.
Oh yeah.
Just like
They could just not said it. They could just not said
They've
anything.
invited the Eternals problem in their first movie. That's pretty funny. But also, like, let's be real, like, are we seriously going to pretend that this film was as successful as Iron Man was as a beginning for the DC universe? I don't think anybody is delusional enough to pretend that that's the case. And if you're like, yeah, but it doesn't need to be, it's like, I don't know, it feels like it probably does because we only have one successful cinematic universe to point to. If we're not counting stuff like Star Wars, I guess you could say that it emerged to something like that. But if we're pointing to superhero cinematic universes, is really just the MCU, or at least it was until this point. So you probably do need something like Iron Man, because there are a lot of other cinematic universes that attempted to start on much worse movies than Iron Man, and they all have one thing in common: they failed. So
Also,
as
just
good and as successful as Iron Man.
on the front of like this even being discussed, apparently it's being considered completely unusual. We did this for Brave New World. We had a whole episode actually following up the coverage of Brave New World, where we went over all these numbers as well as like what Marvel is doing. But everyone didn't seem to be mad about that. So
because we all thought that was bad, even though it's better than Superman.
it is,
Yep.
yeah.
It is better than Superman.
Sorry, I got that wrong. 2 follow-up EFAPs after Brave New World.
And we did follow up for Thunderbolts as well.
Remember we did Protein and Jelly?
Some people were oh yeah. Well, yeah, some people are a little bit mad about the Thunderbolt stuff.
I don't even mind admitting I was mad about the Brave New World box office because it was insanity to me, but I think I've come down a little now on like this happens every time and there's no stopping it.
What of people pretending like it was a success?
It was crazy because we do live in a world where like everyone's just happily operating with completely polar opposite information, like at the same time, and so. But this one, I was like, these are just numbers we can see, and then we can check them against past numbers, and we can see what results there were. How could anyone be confused about this?
But a lot of people. It is just as simple as if the box office number is greater than the budget number, that means it's successful. Or it's even worse than that. Because it's millions of dollars, it just seems like a lot.
Yeah.
Seemingly forgetting that they also spend millions of dollars, and also that these are multi-billion-dollar corporations. So of course it's going to be in numbers like millions. But it's like, well, $300 million, that's a lot of money from my perspective. It's like, yeah, it is, but you're not Warner Brothers.
But you didn't spend
Disney.
hundreds of millions on it either.
You didn't, exactly. It's like, think about all of the Ford Raptors that I could buy with $300 million. Like, yeah, sure, cool, man, but we're talking about big movies here that need to make lots of money. It is pretty funny because like it's almost like these superhero films have been doing shit for so long that people don't even understand how successful they used to be. Again, it was kind of the point of our little ending portion of Retarded Avengers. You just look at the list of films that were coming out that were just Marvel movies were reliably like making money from basically from 2012 all the way to like 2022, like reliably making like 700, 800, 900 billion dollars. There was a year when all of them made over $1 billion.
So yeah, here we are. Like I was saying, it's just I was a bit more obsessive even on Brave New World, but this one was an interesting follow-up because it's just going to happen forever, indefinitely, I suppose. I'll be curious how the Supergirl one gets fudged. Best of luck with that one.
Yeah, I mean that one's just going to be again. Is it possible that it could be more successful than Superman? It's possible. I wholly expect that it will be a better film than Superman because I'd be surprised if it wasn't.
Oh, and worth just stating, because in case anyone thinks otherwise, we do not believe box office has necessarily anything to do with quality. We're talking about it with a completely different context.
It's an interesting discussion, but
I think it's a super relevant discussion because it defines the future of what stories get told. It's super relevant.
Yeah. It's really weird when you see the tweets like, why are people obsessed with box office? Maybe because it determines whether or not they'll see more of something that they like or less of something that they dislike or vice versa. Surely it does matter to you a little bit. Surely you want to see a film that you enjoyed succeed so that the people who created it are able to continue working and making more stuff that you like. Like, people don't again, this is kind of that people do not make this argument in the inverse, you know? Like, if somebody looks at a game that they really enjoy and they're like, oh man, it sold super well, I'm so happy that for the devs, nobody would look at them and be like, why do you even care? What is wrong with you? Why are you obsessed with how well this game is sold? People don't do that. It's only usually in the negative. But also, you can have two conversations at the same time. You know,
you can indeed.
It's kind of silly that people act like it's not possible.